business, the first bullet is review existing requests for funding. And I'll just list all these out because it's important to get them all. The second is discuss amounts to allocate to bucket types. And the third is to discuss eligibility requirements. And I will tell you all, I put some time and thought into this today. And so I have some ideas that I'd like to lay out that simplify things quite a bit. And I think maximize the impact that these funds can have at this particular time. So
that's exactly what I hear.
That's what I will say. And so I don't know if you want me to lay out a few ideas or if you want to wait and gather thoughts. So
my inclination would be to hear your ideas instead of, and maybe build on them or not.
sure, I'm shoot them down. You know, I'm not waiting.
Yeah, no, but I think that's not
No,
be a starter.
Yeah.
Hi
guys.
Are you there? Hi.
I'm here finally.
Are you in Livingston, Montana, or are you in like Enid, Oklahoma?
I am in Livingston, Montana currently. There's a little wildfire up near my house, so I kind of took off to make sure we didn't have to get animals out, but they got it out thankfully. So, but I didn't have time to run back down. So here I am.
Oh, very good. Well, I hope that you stay out of danger. So
Yes. Yes.
cool. Well, so just a couple things. One is like, you know, we're the buckets, right? And,
Yeah.
and the guidance that we have are the use of funds direction from the Department of the Treasury, and we kind of went through those and we sort of struck a few off the list last time. And the ones that we kind of struck off the list were number 3, provide premium pay for essential workers, and number 1, the loss for public sector revenue, because Lisa said that was sort of already covered. And then we agreed on the last one, the water sewer, that was going to be a part of it. The city already had that sort of in the pipeline. Right. And we agreed that we were going to really focus on this number 2, respond to the far-reaching public health negative impacts. And it lists
That's number 1. Well,
Oh,
according to the last, public health is number 1, and then premium pay is number 2.
Yeah, and this is, then they just flipped them.
That's fine.
Because
That's fine.
I pulled this.
Oh, you pulled it from there, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay, no, it's good. And so
We're on the same page.
and so just sort of in thinking, you know, you look at small businesses, impacted industries, helping households, communities, and nonprofits in the public sector, and that's still this huge swath, right? And I feel like at this particular time, that if we were to suggest that the city really hone in on the nonprofit sector for this one, because they're not, you know, if we give $1 to the nonprofit sector, it's a multiplier effect. Like $1 to the nonprofit sector helps 20 to 30 people, right?
Right.
And not to undermine. Not to underspeak the importance of like impacted industries and stuff, but that's getting into a ball of wax that
Exactly.
is just, we don't want to get into it. Like,
No. And they've had other sources
Right,
to
right,
get
right.
funding from.
right. And so if we were to suggest to the city, the bucket that we suggest you fund on is, in addition to this water sewer thing, is the nonprofit community. It sufficiently narrows it. It greatly enhances the impact because, you know, like I said, every dollar into one of these nonprofits helps many, many people. It's a segment of our economy that's important, and it's been majorly impacted. And they're the ones who were left to pick up the pieces when all these COVID impacts were happening, right? Whether it's food or mental health or whatever. And so my suggestion is we keep it broad. We say Livingston's nonprofit community, and then we can use the application process to weed out, you know, the questions that we ask in the application process to weed out what's appropriate and what's not appropriate funding. And I did look at what the county did, and I thought it was pretty magical in its simplicity. And Warren, I don't know if you saw this, and I'll send it, but they took and highlighted the areas that the Department of Treasury said that you got to sort of being one of those categories to get this funding. And so they attach that to sort of the start of their application process, and then they attach some fairly straightforward questions. And I know, like, doing funding for as long as I have, like, I really don't want to burden the nonprofit community with a lot of unnecessary questions.
Yeah.
And it's really about, like, what are you doing? How does it comport with the sideboards that we're asking to in terms of ARPA funding? What do you need the money for? And tell us about your organization. And I feel like, you know, the county has
Somebody's done the work already.
yeah, and so like all my best ideas are like stolen from others, right?
Right,
And so
you've been doing it for
yeah,
quite some time for Candia.
and we tried doing this, you know, like simpler the better, because again, we don't need somebody spending like 10 hours doing this.
No.
And so
We want to encourage.
efficiency,
People
especially
to do it,
right now, you know, and so it's got organization name, contact, project description, 500 words or less, project location, proposed project costs, request amount of ARPA funds. It's got some about seeing everything, which is not, and then project benefits for the city. And then project subcategory, and for that, they have to use this sheet to say, this is where we fit. And so by doing that, it provides the city with just enough, but not too much information. This would probably be a, you know, 3 to 4 page proposal, right? And so it gives the city or your designee the ability to efficiently look through each application that you get. And so like I think of buckets, nonprofit community, I think in terms of process from here forward, this, and then we have 6 requests in the door.
Right.
Right.
So far. Yeah.
And so far, and so, you know, I suggest that we, that there's 4 of those requests that are sort of no-brainers in terms of a fit for this money, and I think that they provide enough information for us to make a recommendation to the city, and that's Live Well 49, PCCF, Aspen, and the Food Resource Center. And then there is the depot, and she was looking into this, and it seems like that is appropriate what she could ask, but she didn't have the information. She's like, I'm just talking to they were talking about upgrading their water system, right? And I thought, well, that fits in not only in nonprofit, but it also fits in the water stuff as well. And so we can include them in a next round of requests for proposals. And I don't know how the city does that mechanically, but you issue an RFP or whatever the equivalent is, saying to the nonprofit community, where we have these funds, and here's the sideboards, and apply within 30 days. And so we set up a process. And then the other one that I know is sort of waiting in the wings is Counterpoint, and they have I know that they've got to ask of around $7,000. I know they'll pony up, and there'll probably be plenty of others. But if we suggested to the city to go ahead with those 4 requests, it's $167,000, which of the pie that we have left is not a huge chunk, right? And I think to be able to show that and show it quickly, and to show movement quickly, that would be good for the city, it'd be good for the commissioners, it'd be good for this committee, and it'd be good for these nonprofits who need the money, right? And then so my thought was that, well, if we can put whatever the communication is to the city, a memo from this committee saying, number 1, here's the bucket, it's the nonprofit community and this water thing, right? Number 2, the process is we're going to suggest some similar to the county,
Make
right?
it the same.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the,
Yeah, exactly.
works,
And just
you know?
change city.
If it passes legal, you know, who
Right.
cares?
And I know that the county was connecting with Mako on this to make sure, you know, the lawyers with Mako,
Right.
to make sure that what they were doing was legit.
Yeah, we can run it through recording real
Yeah.
quick, if MMIA if we have to.
Yeah, exactly. And then thirdly, suggesting to the city, why don't you immediately issue a request for proposals, put this, however you do it, like on the website or whatever. And, you know, if they do it next week, then submit it by the end of August. And then, and then we have a round 2 of funding. So we've got immediate grants out the door, we've got a process, we've got our buckets, we've got a second tier process for looking at new proposals. So anyway, that's my best thinking.
Damn, damn, yeah, Bobby.
Lisa, were you waving?
I was clapping.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, wait a minute.
No, I do have one question though. In the documentation I emailed you guys, LiveWell 49 is not a 501c3.
Yeah.
Yeah, on their own. And we have been unable to kind of ascertain at this point where that funding would actually go. Like, and it's literally the mechanics of who do you write a check to? They're not audited. They're, you know, are they a part of the hospital? Are they a part of the foundation? We haven't been able to get clarity around that. And so from the fiduciary end of it for us, I do have some concerns over LiveWell 49, at least the mechanics of how we would get them money. So that's something I think we need to clarify before we would just say, hey, here's the recommendation to fund this one. And that's something I can certainly work on with Jesse Wilcox to kind of get a little bit more clarity around that. Because they're not a recognized nonprofit.
So they were under the wing of PCCF, is that correct? And they were planning on spinning out, and I don't know if they did or not, so that's a good question.
They applied for funding from AMB West using PCCF kind of as that sponsor. But they are not a part of PCCF, as I understand it. They applied to AMB West for funding, basically using PCCF as the pass-through for the funds.
Oh, okay.
Which we've done as well with,
Yeah.
so I get how that works. But like, they don't have their own tax ID number. They don't, you know, they don't have a 501 designation. I don't even think they have their own checking account. So I'm kind of like, how does that work mechanically?
I think, and again, I think you're probably more up to speed than I, but I know that at one point when they asked us for a grant and we couldn't give it to them, but they were under the wing of PCCF until such a time as they have their own C3. And so I know that the county has given them a grant through ARPA funds, and we just follow their course. But the good thing about if it is PCCF, they're so like the seal of good housekeeping, right? And the only question there is, would PCCF take an administrative fee for doing it? And we could certainly, if there was concern by this community about that, we could get them waived.
Yeah, especially if they're
call.
Right.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
county funded it and how they did it.
yeah, I mean, mechanically, we can certainly do something like that sponsorship role if it's PCCF. I believe that in this last round of funding requests, LiveWell 49 also went back to PCCF to ask for funding for this challenge match from AMB West and were denied. So don't know what that
Kind of what I'm seeing
is.
here too.
Well, so AMB West, they're giving it to some 501c3 for the well, whether it's a standalone C3. Like, this is more of a mechanical issue than whether or not we want to.
It is.
Right, no, I want to give it to them, but as a fiduciary, we have to be responsible.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I can
2021.
to clarify with Betsy.
3,000.
Let me, I will text Gavin right now.
Yeah, if we could use our county community foundation as pass through, and then they take the money, then I can see that. But
I
don't know, that's legal stuff, and that's out of my.
I mean, what we need is we need to make sure that whoever we're giving money to is
Legitimate.
legit. And so it's either going to be,
yes.
it's either gonna be PCCF and they're gonna pass it through, or Live Well 49 directly, and they've
Right.
got to, you know, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, good point. Well, I just texted Gavin to see if they're still their fiscal sponsor.
And then, you know,
Awesome.
does the application require that or ask for it, or?
It just says nonprofit organizations in.
Okay.
And so we would wanna, I don't know if Park Counties is specific to.
I gave
nonprofits.
this one to Lisa, yeah, because Steve Caldwell gave me this.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing, so.
I would suggest having them attach a copy of their 501c3 certification as part of the application. Just so we make certain that they're doing everything they need to, from an audit perspective and from a control perspective. Because we're gonna have to report out on all this money. And you know, and some of that has become clearer in the last couple of months, since the county gave the money to, you know, gave some funding to Live Well 49. So there's a little bit more research to do. There is I would say for 501s, have them give us their certification, a copy.
So, that was specific to Live Well and not as a part of the broader application process?
I would say, I'm just saying that for our application process, we should probably have anybody
Okay.
give a copy of their 501.
Are there other questions that you all would like to have in here other than?
I think that's probably the most important one. I've looked that over and I like it. Like you said, it's simplicity, keep it simple.
Because what I'd be willing to do is I could sort of, you know, write up a draft communication to the commission with this stuff in it, and then I could write up a draft questionnaire.
Yeah.
And then the commission can do whatever the heck they want with it, you know, but our job is to make a recommendation, right? And that way we can be like uber efficient and do this in under 30 days, right?
You know, I'll do a draft.
My question then, therefore, and Faith, this might be for you or Lisa, like process wise, how do we move through this verbal diarrhea that I just spilled out? Do you need an action by this committee for each of these pieces, or?
I don't think so. I mean, if you want to come up with a draft and stuff like that, we could run it through.
Yeah, you guys have to provide a written recommendation to the commission.
Right, yeah, but if you want to come up with a
Process.
draft, then we'll make sure it goes through
Yeah,
our legal and whoever else needs to see it. And that'll go to the commission, I guess.
But do we need a formal
Right.
vote on each one of these requests?
Oh, on the ones that we've received already?
Yeah.
other requests.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first step would probably be to draft a process, create kind of the application template, put that before the commission for a vote to accept that process, and then open it to applications. Then we review the applications in whatever timeline they are received. And then Tucker, no, come here. Sorry, I have a puppy who's misbehaving. And deal with, you know, whatever as they are received, make a recommendation once we have reviewed applications. And then that goes before the commission. And then that would give the nonprofits an opportunity to present to the commission of what they're looking for, because ultimately the commission is going to need to vote to commit the funds.
So that takes care of part of it. The
Yes.
other part is the more immediate, which is suggesting approval of the request that we already have here, that we feel we have enough information to approve. And my suggestion is I thought that we had 4 viable ones here, and then a 5th, which is the 4 that I thought we might consider forwarding on, saying, yes, we recommend you get this money out as soon as possible. We're Aspen, PCCF, Live Well 49, and the Food Research.
We could put that on as a motion. or resolution, or I'm not exactly, it might just be an action item for the commission to vote,
It should
and then
be
vote
action
on the
item.
whole process after.
So do you need a vote from this committee on those four, saying we recommend these to the city?
Yes,
Out of this first bucket, or
yeah, right, out of first bucket, that bucket number one, we are recommending that these four be funded. I would just put in the caveat that we need to clarify the mechanics on Live Well 49.
Okay,
Sure. That's only,
And make sure that, yeah, they qualify.
right,
my other question is should we take these one at a time and have four different resolutions, in part because and give me advice on this, Lisa and or Faith, which is the Food Resource Center, since I've got a conflict there.
Mhm.
I don't know what the actual conflict rules are, other than I've got one there if the commission approves this thing.
we will just declare your conflict
Okay,
before they vote. That's really all we have to do, is declare that conflict. And if you guys want to do a vote where your vote here in this meeting is, a vote for the first three, and then do another vote for the Food Resource Center, and you just abstain, we can put that into the record and into the resolution.
so we could do it either way though, and I I'd almost rather do all four and declare my conflict, and
I think you have to do them individually, wouldn't you
Okay.
think, Lisa?
when we did the CARES Act funding, you guys approved specific.
Yeah, I think we have
Project.
to,
Yeah.
Okay.
And
We can do four of them then. It's not, once we
that's
get,
a process thing, that'll go for about 3 hours of city commission meeting.
All right, well, do you want one at a time? Just pop them up there?
Well, can't
They're all-
they all be on presented, and then if anybody disagrees, they can vote yes for all but.
I don't see why, yeah, it really doesn't matter. I think if we list the three and, or the four, and you abstain on the one, even so you're not approving the funding, it goes through the commission, so I think it's.
Yeah, I'm just
A
making a
moot point.
recommendation.
Yeah,
right,
We're just making recommendations.
yeah, Tim, you're just making a recommendation. You're not actually cutting the check,
All right, well,
Um,
it's not doing a conflict, but someplace to be.
But if somebody raises it, okay, I, abstain, but I just.
Right,
Making a
that's all we gotta
recommendation, not approving.
Okay, well, then we've got four to make a recommendation on. Does someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 4 recommendations.
second,
Okay. All right, and so the motion will read something to the effect of the ARPA Visioning Committee makes the following recommendations, immediate recommendations for funding to the city commission to consider it. Get checks out the door as soon as possible, including $102,000 to the Livingston Food Resource Center, $30,000 to Live Well 49 asterisk. The C3 status needs to be determined. The Park County Community Foundation of $25,000 and Aspen of $10,000, which is $5,000 a year over 2 years. So for a total of $167,000. And so that's what the resolution would be. Perfect. Good. All right. Any changes to that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, 3-0. 3-0 W for win. Cool.
now this is probably a commission decision or fact finding or whatever. Are any, in determining who's going to get what, is there any possibility of some of the organizations, I assume they're also giving a dollar amount for what they would like.
Right, that's whatever, all.
I just
four of
answered my
these
own
did.
question, so thank you.
And Gavin corrected me, so it looks like LHC is the fiscal agent. for
Oh,
Live
okay.
49. So, and they're a 501c3, so, as long as we're okay.
So they're attached to that, okay.
Yeah, so we would cut a check, the city would cut a check to Livingston Healthcare.
Yeah, and they.
LHC would cut a check to Live 49.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because I'm sure that, you know, the county's not gonna do things that are right, so.
and so if I did the communication on this, did the communication on the buckets that we want to fund, draft, and then a communication on the process for their consideration. And then a recommendation to issue an RFP with that, gather requests,
Yeah.
advertise it however.
We could do applications to the residents that have that capability.
That would be cool.
Right, and we can also, you know, talk to John Carroll or somebody at Enterprise, talk to Tim.
Well, and Gavin could send something, Gavin, I'm sure.
Or Gavin could do
Yeah,
that.
he's got his finger on the pulse of all.
Yeah,
So anyways, so. All right, well, I'll draft something up. I'll try and do it tomorrow, because otherwise I'm gone for next week.
Yeah, me too. Well, after Tuesday.
So are we not meeting next week or meeting by Zoom or?
I'll have to meet by Zoom on Thursday.
I'll be in the backcountry, and inaccessible.
I'll be in Chicago somewhere.
Eating a hot dog at Vinnie's.
Okay.
I'll
So
be in
do we,
Waukegan, or Lake Forest or Lake Bluff.
I think it booted me out.
We're Highland Park.
Yeah, I was just in Milwaukee.
You were just
Yeah.
back over there.
Cool, well, I'll try and get this stuff out and then let's take some time to review it and make sure that it's to everyone's liking, and obviously we need to bring Karen up to speed. But I will try and put this together and circulate it to everybody here as well as Karen, and I'll gather comments and make edits, and hopefully we'll get it rolling, so.
okay.
Yeah, I look at the fact of getting it cleaned up to the point where the decisions have to be made where every individual that walks through the door. Yeah, I think that, I was thinking about that heavily as far as how you would discriminate between who should have it and
Well, yeah,
who's
this is-
borderline.
Right, this
is a great screening.
This makes it pretty, yeah, cut and dry.
I looked at all the categories and I'm like, really, do we want to be like the arbiter for businesses?
No, because they had their chance and opportunity to do all that. It was all there at one point. If you qualified, you could get it. They were pretty.
There was quite a few of them that actually.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. I mean, even at my church, we took advantage of the payroll protection thing to keep, a few of our employees going, because,
That was the PPP was a big deal, and
it's huge.
most businesses who applied, other than my wife's yoga studio, got it. Anyways, cool. Well, what else do we have to do? Oh, do we have public comments? Public comments?
Patricia, any comments?
Hearing none.
I'm sorry.
Hey, she dates all the way back to my commission.
I know
back
she
in
does.
late
Was she on the
80s.
commission when you were on?
No, that
Oh,
I was on before she was on, but she started showing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You were on the commission?
Oh,
Yeah, in 98, 99. I
Oh,
did
wow.
one
See, we're
term.
all former commissioners. Karen Cooper is a former.
I knew
Yeah.
Karen, I've seen her name on some documents.
Battered and bruised from many years back, yeah.
Tim
Wow.
did it just to get out of the house. And we said, young ones.
Exactly. And then we had a third baby, and I was just like, all right.
I was doing theater then.
Yeah.
To get away from.
I think I was out of high school, a few years out of high school.
Any other committee comments?
No.
Hearing none? Cool. Well, we've been efficient and we're adjourned.
You're awesome.
So,
Thank you.
cool.
5:35.
Very, very nice.
Next meeting, we're gonna have a standing meeting. only.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Good night. Good face.
Hope you don't get burned.
So you're gonna be.
Yep.